Andres. Thank you very much for joining this project, and thank you very much for accepting my invitation.
Hi, Guillermo. I'm very pleased to be here today. Have a this wonderful time with you to talk about practice, context, and smart cities.
Thank you very much. That's really good. So before anything, let's talk about you. Talk about your experience, your background.
Yes, I'm basically located in Toronto, Canada, and I'm the founder and CEO of Cityzeen, which is a startup working in the new field of urban informatics, which is something in between practice and context. Basically, I've since 2015 I've been working in this field. I have detected that in the construction field in industry there is a low productivity, and it's an industry that is one of the latest to update in terms of technology. So in that moment, I think in 2014, we had something very amazing on the investment side. There's a lot of companies getting capital to optimize and update the industry. So since 2015, I've been working on the software side. Basically, my experience is on the business development. I've been working for 20 years, helping companies having a core technology, and my whole experience is basically opening markets, creating products, and doing business development. At this time, in particular with Cityzeen, I'm doing the product development, and I'm doing business development, which take me to South America to open a subsidiary for Cityzeen in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia. And that drive me recently in 2019 to be the co-founder of Colombia Practice, which is one of the first non-profit associations to help the industry to move forward and take advantage of the technology. In particular, when we talk about urban planning, basically in Latin America, we have a huge problem in the way that we use land and we can take advantage of the asset management. And when we talk about cities are struggling in the way they distribute communities, and we also have a lot of problems in terms of housing, slums, and this type of infrastructure. So that's basically the topic I'm working on.
Yeah, interesting, and a very strong background. And what about your company? Why and how did you created it?
Well, the why is coming from the way we were living. Basically, I think we are facing an increase of population. The world is becoming more urban. There is migration in many ways. There is migration from rural to urban. There is migration from country to country. There is migration because the climate change makes that people drive to other locations. And when you look at that trend and you combine and you look at the cities and the way they have to manage basically resources, they have to manage timing, and they also have to manage budgets. And when you look at the tools they are using, they are not the best tools they can have. That's the one reason. So basically, we believe that they need more technology to keep up with the urban growth. Sorry, and also with the level of density we are having in many different cities. So that is not a secret that cities, even if they collect taxes, there is not enough money to deliver the services we need to live as a community. So technology is a very good connector to create new type of public-private partnerships. Technology is also a very good tool to optimize resources and create new business models. So that basically the factors that drive Cityzeen to be created. And there is not a secret that many other technologies that we are going to see very soon, like autonomous vehicles, new materials, new type of artificial intelligence solutions, new ways to build housing, like 3D housing. They are going all to affect the way how we build, how we think, and how we use assets in a physical space.
That, well, that's strong, and well, in the sense of your company and products, what does your company actually do in terms of products and solutions? So if people want to buy from you.
We are working towards a platform to understand what are the wishes and needs, essentially the first stage from generation X and Y, which is something around 25 to 50 years old, let's say in the middle of the pyramid. We want to create we are working towards that platform where we'll help you to open an account, register, and tell us what do you need in your neighborhood. But when I say your neighborhood, it might be 3 locations. It might be the neighborhood where you are living, the neighborhood where you are working, and the neighborhood where you're having fun or having entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that you are an urban planner. And we believe that that information is extremely valuable for proctors and context players. And what we call urban planners basically are individuals that have the responsibility to design and create services at the city scale. So basically the platform we are working now will help the ecosystem to have a more granular and specific information for marketing purposes and for optimization of services or decision makings about specific areas or assets and neighborhoods. That's basically the driver with software. On the other hand, why we do that? Because we have detected, even in places, in cities, in different locations like Canada or Colombia or Argentina, individuals on urban planning, they're still having different type of databases. It's fragmented, dispersed, or sorry, or sometimes they are using all the statistics from the census, and that's the way we use that software.
Well, that's interesting. And well, that's I actually have talked to so many startups and globally, and I actually didn't find a startup very well with some very similar business model as yours. So I might say that might be a difficult question, but is there are key points of differentiation that you keep in your company in a different level of quality of what you are developing?
So you mean the differentiation?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I will say that the principal difference is we are really focused to reduce friction. Friction is when a real estate player or a construction company needs to work with urban planners. If you drive a construction company, you might have an idea about what should be the product for the market. Mm-hmm. And you have an assumption about the end user. The urban planner is in the same way, but they are not sharing the same ledger. And the end user might have another idea. So the main value we provide to the market is that we want and we work really hard to have one ledger that will help all 3 parties to share the same information in a more graphic way. For that we use design, basically. So imagine yourself, rather than watch Netflix, you will see campaigns about neighborhoods, and you will go to the screen and you will validate if the product fits for you or not. So basically that's the main difference. We reduce friction. By reducing friction, we are going to help the decision-making process about what is needed and what is desired in specific neighborhoods. And finally, that will represent better insights, not only for the private company, but also savings for the city in terms of decisions. Because at the end of the day, if we really look how cities are built, the private construction companies that really built the city, like they really muscle investing and taking risk.
Yeah.
So we believe that it's necessary to create a new type of relationship. If that's what we do with software.
That's really nice. And well, as a small company growing, what are the solutions and products that you are developing and expected to have in the future?
Well, the first stage, we were going now for a pilot of the city scale, and we have to stop operations because of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So the first product, it's basically open accounts for residents. And the first product goes really to people because we want to capture that information. So what it means, you will have an account where you will feel comfortable sharing your ideas about what is needed for the neighborhood. You can see what others users are posting. You can also see which ideas or projects come from the private sector. And finally, this product will help you to have a better communication with your infrastructure department at the city you are living. That's the first version of the product. That product goes in the way that we open a channel for you. You will have the channel in your hand, and it's something like, I don't know if in Campinas maybe you got a letter asking you, Guillermo, what do you like from your city? I don't know if that letter goes to your home. Perhaps no.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that product will help to digitalize that form and give you more power in your hands. The
Yeah.
second version of the second product, it's more artificial intelligence. We are going to digitalize forms and pictures. And the second version of the product is to map and scan neighborhoods. So the outcome of the product is a heat map that will help infrastructure teams at the city level, and it will help private companies to detect what are the needs by the community. So the first product is more individual, it's value for you, and the second version is more like, this is us as a community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the
Wow.
stage we have. The first
Wow.
version is going to be deployed in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this summer we'll have a chance to do something perhaps in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another interesting topic. Urban planning is not about rich or poor. Urban planning is about sustainability, well-being, and health. And that's a main driver. So we want to show that it doesn't matter if you live in Europe or South America. It's pretty important for your health and your family and yourself to have a very good urban planning department working for you, because it is where you live, it's where you work, and you basically need to improve your quality of life. So we are really focused on that.
Well, one question that came to my mind is, it's very ambitious what you are saying. So it makes a lot of sense, but I think that kind of ambitious because it puts together the community and governments and the private sector. So, and putting this all together, and do you think that the community but you enjoy being part of these decisions and suggestions? So how do you think that you can engage the population that can contribute to better projects inside your platform?
It's a very good question, and it goes to the field of behavioral economics, basically. And yeah, what the hypothesis we have is, when we talk to infrastructure managers or urban planners, directors, or even construction companies, private construction companies, we have detected they spend sometimes 3 to 5 years to make decisions about one project. It takes a while. So, because the time and the money hurts a lot, both sides of of the industry, we also detect when we talk to municipalities, that is not a secret. They are not having good tax collection, and they need more capital to invest and improve services. So basically, when we have communication and talks with municipalities, what we are saying is they can help us to engage with the community. They have networks like utilities where we can work together to reach the end user. And the crisis we are facing drive municipalities to think different, think out of the box, and really work seriously in different type of innovations. So if we can reduce the amount of time that we need to make decisions about neighborhoods, if we can help communities that are facing poverty and they are struggling with really bad infrastructure, basically is value that is going to be a spread in between the private constructor or contractor and the public player. Mm-hmm. That's the way we are trying to build that community. That is something that we need to validate. It seems like ambitious, but when you really look at other companies like Uber, where they have to match demand in supply, it was a very tough problem. It's a marketplace. Mm-hmm. And they finally create a service that I believe it provides value, because it's basically mobility on demand. So that problem is something we are challenging, we are facing. And we believe that people at this stage with the crisis, they have another feeling, they have another behavior. And I think at some point as a humans, we have more conscious about the way we are living. And this crisis is going to set up something that we were talking a long time ago, which is sustainable development goals. That's something very complex and far from people. Mm-hmm. When you wake up in the morning, you are not thinking about your neighborhood. You are not thinking about the city. But it's something that hurts you. It's something that affects you. It's something that touches your mobility, your health. When we are facing air pollution, when we are facing traffic jams, when we don't have a park, when we don't have a clinic, there's something that it's not in your mind in the morning, but it really hurts your life. And software is a good way to tell you, listen, now your voice is heard. You can participate. It's only your fingers. And that's the way we are exploring to reduce complexity.
That's really impressive. Well, very, very nice. And at this moment, what are you looking for? Investment, expansion, consolidation, growth? This scale?
At this stage, we are looking for investments for 4 reasons. We need to optimize product. We need to work and invest more on customer acquisition. When we talk about community and how to make that product more tangible and concrete, we need to invest more on marketing, and that means that we have to afford an investment to acquire customers or users. And we need more capital for talent rotation and operations deployment.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Oh, that's really nice. So when you mentioned that you expect to have the first deployment on Colombia by the end of this year, right?
Yes, we were ready to start in February. Mm-hmm. We have to really stop everything. Mm-hmm. And we have been working in different locations. We were analyzing markets in Canada. We were looking at Colombia. And this year in particular, we got interest from 3 different municipalities. I'm talking about cities in between 1 to 3 million people. Cities that are completely different. And that's a very good insight, because it shows that there is a new type of leadership. There is some mayors that are more independent than others. There is some mayors, they have the mindset, or even urban planning departments, they have the mindset about how we can take advantage of the actual technologies, I have. So we are looking for that, and we also detect another opportunity. We were invited for a presentation in Buenos Aires in Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a driver that is telling us that cities are moving. Cities are where we create value. The GDP of the world is hosted in cities.
Yeah.
So I think it's capital that is available, and basically uh, we can help to have a better way to design urban plan. Urban planning is sometimes very top-down approach. It's very centralized function, and because it's very centralized function, it can create friction, but also um, it might be interesting to see a new approach in a way that we are more agile. And there is no doubt that the future in terms of leadership and governance goes for a more decentralized system. And that's what we call blockchain technologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the world is going in that direction.
Mm-hmm. And do you consider yourself a software company, a real estate company, or a urban planning company?
We are a software company, but we have to understand the process and business of real estate and urban development. We definitely are in that field. It's the largest, one of the largest industry in the world. Real estate assets worth 5 times more than the gold in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we are
Yeah.
talking about $300 trillion industry. It's massive. It's a very giant industry, and it's not just an industry. It's a vehicle of investment. So it's an amazing driver to capture capital, and there is no secret that is a very good asset for investment at the personal level or private level. So we remain a software company. We do software, but we definitely need to understand, and that's what we call practice in context, because we are a hybrid, but we definitely need to understand the rules, and we navigating that industry, but we remain a software company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Sorry. Keep going.
sorry, and that's basically that can help us to create partnerships and alliance with firms like architect firms, urban landscape firms, construction companies. Basically, we just provide information. We take something that is complex, like databases, and from there, we deliver a flow of information. But finally, at the end of the game, we don't make decisions. We just deliver software, and other players on real estate, construction, and urban planning, they will make decisions. We just help them to reduce the friction, the waste of time, and the waste of capital. That's the only thing we do.
The only thing you're you're being humble. And well, talking this mix of software company and real estate in area that you actuate. And I have talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they say that the real estate market is as very conservative in relation to other sectors. And does this also occur in Canada, Colombia, or any other place you are currently working in?
Yes, it is conservative. It's um, it's an industry where sometimes it takes time to make decisions about investments. I also think because it's heavy capital invest on that field, so you have to analyze and evaluate your risk. And because sometimes it's conservative, it's an industry that remains very solid for investments, for investors. But I also
Well,
think that it's new ways and new technologies, because the new technologies that are already coming and they are already here, those technologies are going to change business models. And those technologies, globally speaking, the construction industry is one of the latest in terms of productivity. It's something around 1.2%. when others are around 2.4%. So having more technologies, what we are going to get is more productivity and competitivity in the industry. And that will accelerate business models, investment portfolio, but also we are going to create at some point savings. When you have a property and you are connecting sensors, you are going to make savings and you are going to optimize comfort and the value of the property. When we talk about construction itself, you have a lot of robotics right now. You have drones that are looking around your construction site. And all those technologies are going to speed and create more value, not only for investors, but also for the end users. So I definitely believe that it's conservative, but the mindset of the industry is shifting. And it's shifting because the needs for the cities. And that's the connection between real estate, construction, and cities. Because the way we are shifting for a new style of life will demand and will require new type of constructions. That's what we have companies like WeWork trying to work with Uber and having different user experience. And if we start looking for autonomous vehicles, they are going to use buildings and have new type of locations to park those engines. There is something that requires real estate or new type of stations for mobility. And all those technologies are going to shift the way we use real estate and we invest in real estate.
Yes, you are putting the conversation in another level. It's not talking about construction, not talking about real estate. It's about overseeing and the whole experience in the whole society, the whole community, the whole city. So it's in better improvement of the health and quality and sustainability, and well, in a much deeper way and more profound way. So it's really very how can I say, it's impressive to see and that you are finding out a solution to this need of integration between business, between public sector, and between the community and the society. That's really interesting to see. And
I'll give you perhaps another two examples very quick.
Sure, go ahead, no problem.
About ownerships. There is something is happening, and it's massive investment, and I think it's very disruptive. When we talk about ownership of assets, about who own an apartment, who own a building, who own an office, and when you plug a blockchain technology, you can tokenize the asset, which means that you are now buying an apartment. You can invest a fraction of that apartment. So in the future, and it will not take more than 5 years, maybe less, maybe more, you can have a portfolio in your hand where you own a fraction of one apartment in Toronto, one apartment in New York, one in Campinas, and one in Barcelona, because you don't need to buy the apartment. That's real estate, that's the software. When you look at companies like Toyota that have no background experience in the construction industry, they are already thinking not to build one building, but build something for communities. It's a total vision of the construction, which means they are having better energy consumption, different type of mobility, new materials, more affordable housing, and optimization of the land. And it's a total different company, which means at some point we are all looking at the space, and that notion, that concept of the city is definitely going to change. And the needs in terms of housing in the world, some people in some reports say that is 1.4 billion units that we need. Others, they say it's 2.2, and sometimes I found reports they say 2.8 billion houses. You know how much space we need for that? And the last metric I'll give you, before 2030, in the next decade that we start this now, we will have 4 billion more people connected on internet. So if you do an analogy in between 2010 and 2020, how much services we have from scratch, completely new, that we never experienced it, like Airbnb, like Uber, like Twitter, like Google, like many other companies, they just came from nothing. And those companies are on top of the market today in terms of cat market and valorization. So imagine the amount of disruption and technology that is coming for the next decade that will really affect directly the industry of construction.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And in the sense of what do you think is the role of startups and new technologies on these changes for the real estate industry? How do you think the role of startups and new technology?
I believe as a founder of one that we create something or we think about products or services or new experience that can really be a driver to change industries. The reason when you create a startup, there's something that sometimes don't have a market, or sometimes have no clear user, or sometimes you create something from the technology and you start thinking about how can we connect this in a new type of market. I think that startups are created to take risk, high risk, and that's why we connect and we work hand to hand with venture capital. It might be something incremental. As the reason to create a startup is because sometimes you face a problem or you detect something that is not working properly, or you want to optimize or help someone. So the main reason of the creation of a startup is basically to take advantage of the pool of talent that you can capture, the new technologies, they are at fast pace, and basically all this is driven by innovation, and innovation is basically the way we update and we change our life. So the main reason why we create a startup is because we are more agile, we work faster, we take more risk, and we have different processes to create innovation. We work in a way that failure it's a learning process. We look all the time for failure. We test things that perhaps is not going to work. But that's the way we work differently. So I think it's a different type of organization that can create products and services faster and cheaper than other type of organization.
Yeah, my next question touched this point in a different sense. For example, Airbnb, Booking.com, WeWork, they were invented by very innovative guys. And of course, the real estate is a conservative sector, but of course there are some companies that are trying their best, but the big majority it's very conservative and is not innovating. So in your opinion, what keeps these companies that are not innovating is still away from the development of products and solutions, just like startups?
What I have learned doing market research, it's in the field of construction companies, there is a lot of companies that have no innovation department internally because the culture, because the way they were producing products. I also think that a startup it's a type of organization that can attract different type of talents. And basically the core business of a startup company are technology. So we go back to the question when you asked me, are you a real estate or are you a software company? So that's why we remain a software company in a field that is sometimes new for us, but I think it's also the type of organization. And when I give you another metric about something I have learned recently, when you have a real estate product, most of the companies in construction, they miss it or they spend a lot of time in marketing purposes because they don't have the right tools to understand the customer or do the right drive in a good way the pipeline of sales. So I think a startup will remain a technological company, as you can see with Amazon, as you can see with many other players. They are technological companies that
Andres,
get models, different type of approach.
Andres, 1 second. 10 seconds, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat the last 10 seconds, please?
Yes. So I was giving another example about Amazon that disrupts the logistic industry in a different way. It used to start with books. So I think it's just a different type of mindset, it's a different type of organization, different skills, and it just, as a startup, there are companies that were born into technology, and that changed many things.
Yeah, and yes, and in terms of the partnership between small companies or high technology companies with big corps, what type of partnership do you think that are most valuable, and what do you think that what the type of partnership you recommend?
Yesterday, I was invited for a webinar with Mexico, Costa Rica, and Argentina. And we were talking about the future of cities and urban planning in Latin America. I think where someone from Brazil participating. And what we have learned from this is that we can partner with companies doing urban planning. We can partner with companies doing architecture design. We can partner with companies doing construction at some level. So we remain a connector. We are a company that can help big players to understand better the end user. We can help them to understand what should be the reaction for one specific project they have in mind, and we can capture faster, cheaper, and better information from the end user regarding design, urban planning, and projects. That's basically what we can do for them. And all this goes to, in a future, perhaps with different or new type of products. Once you understand better your demand, it's definitely going to change the way you make decisions for your investments in your portfolio. If you can capture and understand better the demand, let's say in a future, Cityzeen is growing in different locations, different cities. If we have a pool of 100 cities in the future, and you are a private construction company, or you are a financial player, you will need to make decisions about, I have 3 projects in my hand. Where is the best community for this project? And how we can deploy? And how much people are willing to take advantage of this project? It might be housing. It might be something regarding tourism. Or it might be something regarding mobility or other type of suppliers. But I think once you understand your demand, it will help your business, at least on this specific niche of construction and real estate. So that's why we try to educate and we try to communicate about the city. For us is a space, but basically those spaces are most of the time used by private investors that makes decisions and allocate capital into the city. Mm-hmm. If you need to fix your roads, some cities, they have their own teams and their own trucks. But in many times, there's a private company who's going to fix the roads. That's another example how we can help companies to detect the needs and have a library or a better understanding about what people are asking us, what they needed.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And well, I have one last question. And if you could give one piece of advice to big companies and one piece of advice to small or mid-sized companies that are at the beginning of the innovation journey, what would it be?
Oh, there are no necessary technological companies. They say medium and small size in construction.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I use the term technological, but you can say mid-sized
Okay.
company.
Well, I think there's new opportunities coming because the crisis we are going to face, there is less budget from the industry is suffering basically. There's a lot of projects that are used to stop it. There is layoff at some point. I think we are facing something critical for the industry, and this crisis drives us to think how to move forward. I think there is more technology that will be needed to optimize processes. So I think there is more digitalization of the process in many ways, and for the companies that can survive the crisis, I think there is a lot of opportunities because construction and real estate, it's one of the most important components of the GDP. It's one of the key drivers of any country in the world. When you stop construction, you basically stop your country.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that it's an opportunity for the classic or conservative players, but also for the newcomers or the companies that are already working in the market to take advantage of the technology and design new ways to optimize and create productivity. If you can keep that in mind and you add value to your core business or your actual business with technology, I think you can survive. But at the end of the day, every time we have new technologies, it's something that we can see in terms of value because we do faster or we do cheaper or we do better. So definitely technology at this time is something we should consider, and there is no secret. In terms of investments from the venture capital is growing in this industry. I think in 2019, there were something like $8 billion that were allocated for companies working in technology, in real estate and construction. And it's growing, which means that the world is absorbing that value and players are moving. There are some players that will remain, there are some players that will update, and there are some players that will die, unfortunately. That is the law of the market. And the technology is also optimizing the cost of operations. Sometimes in construction, sometimes not, many times. You see that project management will double in terms of cost in construction. You say we are going to build something at 100, and when you look at your project, you go to 190 because the timing, the process, the legal framework, and a whole bunch of problems that are all around the project. With technology, you can attack the problem and optimize your service in your company.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends, but some companies will survive, others will not.
Yeah, it's part of the game, right?
Yeah, it's technology. It's changing the way we build, we do management, and we do services with those assets.
Well, Andres, it was amazing talking to you. It's really good, and I thought that I came after this conversation with full of new ideas and new perceptions about the reality. Thank you very much for your insights and thought.
It was my pleasure. I enjoyed this conversation with you, and thank you again for your kind invitation. And I'm very happy to be part of the GRI Club. And I was delighted to have this time with you.
Excellent. Let's keep in touch. See you soon, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.